Down front if you want. Somehow I don't think it's quite fair to get a guy all choked up and then ask him to do an introduction. But we'll try to do it anyhow. It is a pleasure for me. Would somebody close the back doors back there, please? We won't get the competition. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure for me to introduce our featured speakers this morning. Several years ago, when I was a professor at Metropolitan State College in Denver, I felt that a few of my teaching colleagues were sort of educated incompetents. It seemed as if they had spent most of their lives in the corner of a library someplace, had lots of academic degrees, but only a vague awareness of what was going on in the real world. An outstanding exception to that somewhat prejudiced and stereotypical view was a psychologist in the college counseling center. His name was and is Jerry Downing. It was not long after I met Jerry that I discovered the roots of his sterling character. He's a native son of Colorado. He was born and reared on a ranch south of Colorado Springs. Jerry received his early education in Fountain, Colorado. That's a big place with a filling station and two stores, I think. Later, he received his bachelor's degree from Colorado State University, a master's degree in education and psychology from Roosevelt University, a master's degree in personnel management and psychology from George Washington University, and a doctoral degree in psychology from the University of Northern Colorado. Having retired from Metropolitan State College in 1982, and since been called back, Jerry is a licensed clinical and counseling psychologist, and now in private practice as a counseling and consulting psychologist. He and his wife work as a team and have done many seminars on stress management throughout the country. They're about to have their first book published. The only flaw I have found in Jerry's background is that he was a Navy man. After 27 years service, he retired as a captain. Among other things, he is also a licensed single-engine, multi-engine, and instrument pilot and an FAA certified flight instructor. They were going to fly down in their own airplane, but he called the hangar and they said, "There's 4 foot of snow in front of the hangar. We don't think we can get your airplane out." Jerry said, "Well, I'm not sure I want to fly it anyhow." So they let somebody else drive them down here. Now, either because of his extensive formal education, or perhaps in spite of it, Jerry is able to communicate in plain English, even in ranch English if necessary. For that reason, a couple of years ago, or I guess longer than that, I asked Jerry to come out and do a session for our Callers Association on stress management. I thought it might be appropriate since we had several separations, several divorces, and a suicide, all directly related to the pressure of calling. He did an excellent job using an approach and language even our caller members understood. When the executive committee was searching for a subject and the speaker for this convention, I was happy to recommend Jerry. Now, the nice thing about hiring Jerry is that he comes with a lovely teammate, partner, co-worker, and wife of 33 years, Jean. Jean was born in Omaha, Nebraska. She very quickly recognized that was a mistake and moved to Colorado. So that she was reared around Denver and Steamboat Springs. Jean is a magna cum laude graduate of Metropolitan State College, a nationally certified adult nurse practitioner, and is designated in the state of Colorado as an advanced nurse practitioner. She presently works as an adjunct assistant professor of nursing at the University of Denver and as a consultant at the Student Health Center at Colorado College. She and Jerry work to provide church, school, industrial, and community groups with seminars focused on how to live more effectively. She is the mother of 3 adult children an accomplished skier and swimmer, and a soprano soloist who has appeared with the Washington Civic Opera and the Friday Morning Civic Club. I don't know why these two people don't find something to do with their time. Gene and Jerry have said, and I know they mean it sincerely, that they want to be a part of our convention and to get to know you. They will be in some of our sessions. They'll spend some time in the partners' hospitality room. I think they plan to leave on Wednesday. Get to know them. They're interesting people. They're great people. I think they're our kind of people. Let's have a real Caller Lab welcome for Gene and Jerry Downing.
I really thank you, because that's the sort of a welcome we've felt ever since we arrived here, and it's really pleasant. If you don't know the people that you're sitting next to at this time, I would hope that you become acquainted very quickly. I'll give you a few seconds. I have an idea you know everyone here. Please. Not a chin festival. Peace. I wanted to be sure, because later on I may give you a test, because you know how we psychologists are. We feel it helps people along. So later on I may ask you to help me out in a little test. So I didn't want you to have any excuses like some of the students I've seen in the college to say, we didn't know what you were going to ask. I told you. So that's what's going to happen. Gene and I really like doing what we do. We're really convinced that there are ways to live life more happily, more healthfully than most of the people in the United States are doing. We're where the rubber meets the road. What I mean by that, I really don't care, and I know Gene doesn't care a great deal about all the beautiful theory that comes out of research and that sort of thing. What we're really interested in is what assists people to live more effectively. So, as Herb said, we expect to be around. We're not a hit and run team, so we're going to be close by. If you don't agree with us, please let us know. We won't argue with you, but we'll try to be persuasive, because what we're selling, we think most people can use. Now, since performance anxiety is an end result of several factors, and psychological is only one, I've asked Gene to take a few minutes this morning speaking to some of the foundational health issues before I deal with performance anxiety proper. So I'd like to have you listen a bit to my partner. This is taking on a new meaning to me down here. My partner who's going to call some shots, okay?
Good morning, one and all. We certainly are pleased to be here. We've visited with many of you and hope to have the chance to do more so during the next couple of days. I just get a few minutes this morning, so I'm going to hit you with a few hard statistics and hope that you want to come back our next couple of sessions and hear more about one of the very vital subjects of today, health, your health, and in particular, stress and how you manage or do not manage it, and how that affects your health. You have a handout in your packet. You don't need to get it out right now, but I hope you've looked over these nice handouts. Someone said last night they were really stressed out after they read those handouts. I didn't mean for that, but they are all learning tools, and as long as we're taking care of logistics, if you would please, the partners especially, complete that social readjustment scale and total your scores before afternoon, and we'll be talking about how important that scale is to your health. The first handout with the circles does deal with a total wellness lifestyle. That means body, mind, and spirit. Too often we have relegated our responsibilities for our total health to a physician. And you know, we really need to take responsibility for our own health, especially with the health industry being the number one industry. It is a billion-dollar industry. First slide. Bill, you've got to pull yourself together. Well, this is so true because if you don't get your act together, no one else will. Number 2. Okay, this is a holistic health clinic that's concerned with the body, mind, and the wallet, not the spirit. And this is true, too. So many times the medical profession, and me included, forgets the spirit. I hope I don't forget the spirit, but I am part of that profession. Just Friday in the media came out the news that there is a great many people being discharged too early from the hospitals because of the high cost of hospital care, and they're going home sicker than when they went in. This should tell you that you really need to do some preventive health care yourself and take the responsibility. Yes, life expectancy has increased since the early century. However, that isn't due to medical intervention or drugs or surgery. It's due to the improved treatment of sewage, sanitation. That's kind of difficult to swallow. Number 4, please. The medical profession does very well, but we certainly don't have all the answers. The more I am in it, the more I realize it's trial and error. And it's our lifestyle and the unhealthy behaviors that we are participating in that we need to be more concerned with. A patient said to a doctor said to a patient, "Here at this holistic clinic, my advice to you for the treatment of your headache is to go home and soak your head in warm Epsom salts water for 24 hours and call me in the morning." Now, to treat holistically doesn't mean always no medication. We need medication. We need antibiotics. We need insulin. We need some heart medication. But this prescribing of drugs is certainly overdone. And there's a lot we can do ourselves without medication. 80% of the drugs prescribed are not effective, and 15% of those will carry side effects or complications, as you're taught to call it. Number 5. Doctor, I feel better already. And this is true. The majority of people feel better after they visit the doctor, and especially if they get a prescription. Many of our doctor visits are ended with a prescription. And most of those are Valium, Tagamet, and Inderal. Valium is a tranquilizer, Tagamet for ulcers, and Inderal for high blood pressure, all stress-related illnesses. Research tells us that now stress-related illnesses have surpassed the common cold as doctor visits and as a reason for loss of work. Millions of dollars are lost annually because of stress-related illnesses in industry. It's a common term, the stress. It's called life in the fast lane. It's the wear and tear of our body, and we're not content to do anything about it. I hope that during the next few sessions we'll give you some ideas. HEW said drugs, surgery, or medical intervention is not going to improve the health of our country, but improved health habits will. There are all kinds of stressors. The greatest physical stressor is inactivity. Less than 2% of the population does any sort of exercise. Less than 2%. Over 50% of the time of the average American is spent watching television. Now, this gentleman doesn't want to exercise, does he? He'd like to lose weight, and you can't do it only by watching your calories. You need to exercise. Chemical stressors. Did you know that 75% of the doctor visits all end in the prescriptions, as I said? Valium is the highest greatest number of prescriptions given is Valium. $10 billion are spent annually on cigarettes, and there are over 320,000 deaths a year attributed to cigarette smoking directly. There's a direct correlation now between coronary artery disease and, of course, cancer of the lung. Just yesterday, or was it this morning, I heard on the news that lung cancer now has surpassed breast cancer as the #1 cancer killer of women. If you want to know what $1 billion is like, if you'd stack $1 bills high, it would come to 125 miles. So over $10 billion are spent on cigarettes. They are indeed nails in the coffin. Also, smoking enhances wrinkles. It can add 10 years to the appearance of your face, so that by the time you're 60, you will look like you're 70. Also, the blood flow to the penis in a man is markedly reduced every time he smokes a cigarette. If the life and death statistics don't motivate you to quit, maybe the latter two will. 75% of heavy coffee drinkers are depressed, and the majority of those are women. Caffeine is addictive. You say, well, I drink decaf coffee. Well, decaf coffee is washed in formaldehyde and also contains carcinogens. Another chemical stressor, sugar. Some say this is a common denominator of stress. You know, it's so easy to grab a cup of coffee and a donut or a candy bar. I'll bet a lot of you callers do that between the time you get home from work and when you go out to call a dance. And this is bad news. The average American consumes 128 pounds of sugar a year. That's 42 teaspoons a day. That probably takes 20 years off your health and 3 years off your life expectancy. There's 13 teaspoons of sugar in a pint of Coke, to give you an idea. It also contributes to the major health problem in our country, and that's obesity, and then a very common health problem, and that's dental caries. Salt, another chemical stressor. The average American eats 1.5 teaspoons a day, when a half a teaspoon is the healthy dosage. Big Mac has 3 times what's healthy. And salt is certainly a major contributor to hypertensive heart disease. Alcohol. This is the most widely used drug in our society. There's over 10.5 billion spent annually. There's 13 million abusers, and this results in over 300,000 fatalities a year. An interesting statistic in our society, though, is that 2 ounces a day is healthy. but 4 ounces a day is unhealthy and can take years off your life. There are 2 groups of people that have been studied as far as lifestyle and their longevity. That's the Mormons and the Seventh-day Adventists. I wonder what they have in common. It certainly isn't their religion. It's no caffeine, no nicotine, and no alcohol. A story for illustration in this and in our subsequent sessions. A small boy on a Midwestern farm found a strange-looking bird, a baby bird. And he took it home to his daddy and he said, "What can we do to raise this? How shall we raise this?" And the dad said, "Well, we'll put it in with the chickens." And the little boy named the bird Ernie. As most boys do, children, they want to name their pets. The dad knew, but didn't tell the little boy that this was an eaglet. And so the eaglet grew and worked around in the chicken yard with the chickens, plucking the corn off the ground, and even started clucking. And one day, a big eagle soared overhead. It was the mother, and she recognized that her eaglet was growing up, so she called to him. And Ernie recognized that call as being his mother, and he made a choice. He spread his wings, and he soared like an eagle. The choice is yours. Are you going to soar like an eagle, majestic, strong, vital, or are you going to grovel around in the chicken yard in the muck? Thank you.
Every time I hear Gene talk about that physiological change, I think I'll give up smoking. Not only that, I heard you say that 4 drinks were bad for you, 4 ounces of alcohol. I think I'll try drinking 6, if that's the magic number. Now, I want to make sure that you know that that statistic says if you go over 2 a day, then things get sort of bad and you aren't very healthy. Okay. Let's talk about performance anxiety for a while. You know, it's always a good idea to define the terms, talk about, what sorts of things are the issue before I get into the issue very far. So let me mention a little story to you about this miner in Arizona. This may sound like a story that isn't very true, but I got it from a guaranteed certified Arizona citizen, so it must be accurate. And this is a story about a silver miner that hired 3 men to help him. He hired a Swede, and it's all right for me to mention nationalities as long as they're part of my ancestry. A Swede, and he hired an Irishman and a Chinaman to work for him, and he took them into the... You don't believe it? I'll show you. Okay. He took them into the mine, and he told the Swede, "I want you to knock down the ore from the walls, and here's the pick. Why don't you get to work?" And he told the Irishman, "I'd like to have you shovel that ore into the ore car so we can take it out." And he told the Chinaman, "You're in charge of supplies." Okay. So he went away. He thought his instructions were pretty explicit, and so he went away for a couple hours, and he came back, and the Swede was very carefully chipping away and getting ore on the deck. That Navy slipped up on me a minute. You're getting ore on the bottom of the tunnel. Then came the Irishman. He was loading it up in the ore car, but he couldn't find the Chinaman anywhere. And he asked the other guys, where is the third man? Where is the Chinaman, the one I told that was in charge of supplies? They said, "We don't know. He went off right away after you got here, or after you left. Went down the tunnel there somewhere." And so he went down the tunnel to look for him. He looked around, And all of a sudden, as he was walking down the tunnel, the Chinaman jumped out, "Supplies! Supplies!" And so you want to define... You really want to define your terms before you start talking about something. That's why I want to work on that. So, what are we talking about? When we talk about performance anxiety, I'm speaking about that uptight, tense, stressed feeling you may have before, during, and after performing. How do you know if you got it? Well, tune in on your body. What a beautiful instrument you have there. Your body's going to tell you. If you have sweaty palms, if you have a knot in the stomach, if you feel like throwing up, or if you throw up, if you have frequent urination, many trips to the bathroom, if you have muscular tension, any or all of these may indicate tension anxiety. Now, sometimes they indicate you have the flu, but you're supposed to be able to differentiate a little bit between that. If you want a second opinion, that's what my wife would say. If a second opinion, you have the flu, you don't have performance anxiety. But these are messages our bodies give to us, and we need to listen to them. Now, we need to tune in, and we need to not deny what's going on. Because if I deny I have performance anxiety, if I deny I have any sort of anxiety, then I've taken the first step to not solving it. I'm not very likely to clean up my anxiety act if I don't embrace the fact that my symptoms tell me I have anxiety. Okay. Now, who has anxiety or stress? We're talking about performance anxiety right now. But it isn't always just being on center stage. I believe everyone has some performance anxiety because, and I'm not going to talk about callers for a minute, but I'm talking about anyone that speaks in a church group or PTA, anyone reciting in class, testifying in court. You see, all of these, in addition to the callers, have performance anxiety. We don't have a corner on it. It's spread around very nicely. So performers, anywhere they are, or if they're not doing it professionally as you are, or doing it in an amateur setting, performers are people who are up where others can judge or criticize their behavior. That's what it takes to be a performer. It can be any setting. Now, some performers never get by this anxiety. Some work right through. You know, I guess we really believe time heals all things, like grief, anxiety. We feel if we start out as callers or performers in some way, then as time goes by, then we're going to be healed and we'll be calm and and we can call easily. That's not necessarily true. You have to do some changing of things in your head, or it won't. There's some actresses, there's some people who perform on the stage who still, after 20 or 30 years, have performance anxiety that causes them to be so uptight that they throw up, get nervous every time they go on. I read about this the other day. Now, I believe when a person tells me that they do not have anxiety or stress, that one of three things is true. Either they're almost dead, they're working on being a vegetable, or you can't trust what they say about the fish they catch either. So when I say everyone has stress or tension and anxiety, it ain't all that bad. A certain amount of tension is necessary for good performance. Healthy tension or stress helps you and I perform with precision and effectiveness. And when we finish the performance, you're able to relax easily and without unpleasant side effects. That's a definition of healthy stress or tension. A caller performance that was technically perfect, that means if you had the tempo and the music, articulation, the timing, all right on the money, could be flat without the vitality and energy and enthusiasm that comes from the right amount of stress and tension. Isn't that right? You've probably felt it. You've probably seen it happen. So good tension good stress is something we want. That's a vital part of playing games, participating in sports, sexual intercourse. All of these involve good stress. So it's important. It's important that we know we're after a balance. Well, I thought I'd mention some of the important things, but as a matter of fact, we know experimentally that people, and we're talking about kids because they're people too, don't learn well unless there's some emotional involvement, and that means some stress, some pressure. Now, if you remember some of your early learning, when you were learning maybe to ski or dance or tennis, any of these sports, you probably had a pretty good time. Otherwise, you wouldn't keep up with it. And each one of those involved having some tension and stress. Now, probably when you finish, you see, that's the sort of thing you never even realize that you're working at learning. Tell someone to go in the classroom, tell a youngster to go in the classroom, he has to learn something. Say, oh, no. Well, he's learning outside when he learns to dance. But if there's not some tension, if there's not some emotional involvement, people don't learn. Okay. So what we're looking for is good stress or balance. Now, unhealthy stress, now we're talking about performance anxiety, is when you may be uptight before, during, and after the performance, where the tension and anxiety degrades, pulls down your performance. As you make mistakes, you forget lines, have nervous uncertainty, this sort of thing. And or the tension does not dissipate after the performance easily and quickly. If you had a time when you were up high, you didn't feel good, and then when you finished, you just couldn't let go, this is what often drives people to drink. They start to look for chemical ways to drop the tension and anxiety. So that's unhealthy stress. That's the performance anxiety. Okay, the causes of performance anxiety are physical. Gene touched on that. I'm not going to spend much time with you on that. But it's the state of your body. Are you healthy, tired, or sick? Now, I believe it can be a result of your mental attitude, too, so they interact. It's very circular. Or the situation. The situation can be if you're unprepared. I put that in there. Unprepared. If it's an unpleasant setting. And what I mean, if you have a nightclub where you're doing some dancing, I don't know where you might do this sort of thing. You might be some sort of demonstration, and you have a drunk wander up, then it may be an external stressor that comes in there. That's part of the situation. We were doing a workshop in a church on, well, as a matter of fact, it was on certain kinds of stress. It was on suicide and depression. And lo and behold, in church, a drunk person wandered up, and that was stressful for me. I didn't know, what do you do with a drunk in church? You know, I've heard some of these questions, and I didn't know the answer to that one. And I recessed for a little while so we could manage that particular situational stressor. But what I want to talk about most is the psychological, and I'm talking about the internal attitudes and thoughts. And I believe the first two, the physical and the situation, are very dependent on the psychological. I think of the case of a symphony player that I'd seen for performance anxiety, a woodwind player, and she'd done all right for 20 years. Now that's interesting, isn't it? For 20 years you get by without too much performance anxiety and you're doing okay, and then it starts to hit. Then she decided that it must be something physical. So she had a space between her teeth, not as big as mine. I always find space between my teeth when I was a kid was handy. You could spit tobacco juice at ants better than the other kids. But she decided that really impaired her ability to play the woodwinds. So she started to put a piece of tape right on the front of her teeth before every performance. She was still uptight. All she had done was try to put a physical sort of tag on the anxiety that she felt about performing. So So we worked through that. She found out that she could relax and do some other things and did very well after that. Let's talk about how to manage performance anxiety then. First of all, I said health is one of the things that keeps you or that causes you to either have or not have a tendency toward performance anxiety. So maintain, and Gene will talk a lot about this later, maintain good general physical health because it minimizes the effects of stressful situation and promotes healthy tension levels. Manage the situations to your advantage. Make good preparation. Avoid the lousy settings if you can because they're tension producers. They put more pressure on you. But third, condition your mind for the top performance. You want top performance function. And so let's talk about that just a little bit. What you need to do is change, well, there are three things. I'll tell you what three we're going to talk about. I'm talking about how to condition your mind for top performance and function. One, change the negative thoughts and attitudes because they're what causes the tension, the emotion that really keeps you from performing well. Number two, treat the anxiety symptoms with relaxation. And three, use imagery, that is, seeing in your mind what you want to do to reduce the performance anxiety and to optimize your performance. Let's talk about the negative thoughts and attitudes just a moment. I believe that the primary cause of performance anxiety is the learned, negative, untrue thoughts that we've accumulated. Now you picked them up, you and I picked them up way back when we were little kids. We started to learn those, and they become so deeply embedded that they're in the subconscious area. We aren't aware of them, but those little self-statements are in there. They're learned, they're in the subconscious. These cause the negative emotions. Now I'm talking about the emotions. When I say a negative emotion, it meets two conditions. It doesn't feel good, it hurts, like, well, anger doesn't do me much good. I don't like the feel of it. Depression, jealousy. I'm talking about negative emotions. So the first condition they have to meet is they hurt. Don't like the feel of them. The other condition is they block my goal direction. If I want to do a good performance, if I want to make a good speech, and I have performance anxiety, that blocks my reaching the goal of doing a good job. So anytime an emotion meets either one of those criteria, then I call it a negative emotion. So negative emotions come from our thinking. Well, I'm saying that flat out. Let's give it a little try. Remember, I asked you to check, and this time don't go off in the corn pasture chatting with each other. When I asked you the first time just to get acquainted next door. Now stay with me just a little while longer. What I'm after, I asked you to introduce yourself if you didn't know the people, and you apparently know most of them. I'm going to just select at random some of you folks and ask you to say the names of the people next to you. Just at random. Because I told you it was important. I told you I was going to test you. Okay. Let's see. How about you, sir, right behind Erna? What are the names on each side? Oh, good. That's his wife, so he has her name locked in. Okay, once more on the names. Okay. Okay. Now, did you hear that, sir? You in the plaid shirt, did you hear the ones he introduced? Okay. How about, would you mind naming their names and then the people right beside you, too, please? Okay. Very good. Very good. How about these three people up here? Oh, okay. Well, okay. Well, I don't know. You know, this worries me a little bit because some of the criteria for square dance people, I thought, this worries me. But I won't say why right now. Now, Any of you people over here who hear those names? You probably know their names anyway. How about you, sir? You played it safe. You don't have anyone sitting on either side of you there. Did you hear these names over here? Uh-huh. You forgot there was a professor up here. Well, let's see. You're all squirming a little bit more now. Yeah. What, ma'am, in the plum blouse back there, would you name the two people, one on each side of you? Uh-huh. Hi. Nice to know you. Now, how about you, sir, in the blue shirt back there? Could you name those names? Yeah, I'll take any one of you. Anyone that'll stick up his hand and go to work, I'll take you. All I have to say is heavens to Betsy. Now, let's stop right there. I'll stop this little exercise. Now, what I'd like to know of you folks that I called on, did you experience any emotion at all? After all, I asked you to perform, didn't I? That's what I did. I just asked you to perform. Some of the rest of you didn't get called on, were nervous too. Okay. Well, you want to name the emotion? Did any of you feel a little anxious? Okay. Well, now, this is about the most safe exercise I can think of. I have some real doozies, but this is the safest one I can think of, and that I laid on you here, and I said, all I asked you to do is just name some people's names, and you tell me with that safe little exercise, you experience some emotion. Now, did the exercise cause the emotion? It's what's going on inside your head. I asked you to perform, and I made it difficult, didn't I? I figured if you get the first 3 names, well, I'll just lay on another 6 if you keep getting them. You're bound to fail. I was making sure that you'd run into a performance level that you'd fail at. Now, none of us like to fail. Now, so when we're fearful of performing, and well, you get 1,100 people watch you to fail here. You are a brave man, sir. You spoke up. But if you are fearful, the fearfulness comes out. Now, let me say that if you have that slide, I like to talk about it in formula because that makes it easier. Well, that's not the one. Try me another one. Oh, I don't like that either. That's the one I like, because I believe that the event times the evaluation, and where's the evaluation? It's in your belief systems, all the stuff you've learned all the time from a little tad on up, equals the emotion. That means you can take any event and it has no emotional impact on you unless you evaluate it some way, unless you use a belief system on it that you usually got way back down the line. Now, it's no accident that a belief system, when I'm talking about this unpleasant thinking, the initials come out BS, because it's usually not based on truth. Nevertheless, that's what causes the unpleasant feeling. So, responsibility. That means that nobody or no event can cause you to feel anxious, upset, angry. And how many times in marriage counseling situations have I heard the wife or husband say, "He made me mad"? What I'm saying is, if you buy this formula, if you buy this the way this works, there ain't nobody that can make you mad. Isn't that freedom? That means people can't go around punching your mad button if you decide to change the thinking that causes you to become angry, sad, upset, this sort of thing. I think this makes sense. And this is an issue I'll be glad to debate with you after our session this morning or this evening, anytime. But it works. Now I'll tell you how it works. let's put things in perspective. If you as a caller, or you partners going in to see the judge if you've had a traffic infraction, that's performing too. Especially though with you callers, if you have a surge of performance anxiety when you go in with a strange group and you may think they're a little antagonistic towards you anyway, they had another caller anyway, if you go in and you feel a surge of performance anxiety, it's probably out of proportion. If you can be sure, if you're really fouled up and your calling is not up to your usual quality, if you're sure that those people out there that are dancers are going to take a baseball bat and break both of your legs, then your emotion is appropriate. It's okay. How many of you have been injured by an angry dancer? Close. You see, what we're talking about is that the old ideas that are in there are saying it would be terrible if they thought I was a lousy caller. It would be terrible. And I'm not encouraging to run out and become mediocre callers. That's not the purpose at all. What I am saying, if you're too intense in believing that you have to do a perfect job, then it's likely you're going to degrade your performance. When I talk balance what you want. Right level of tension so you can really do well, but without getting so high that it causes you to stumble around, not be effective. So that's what I tell people. If you can really count on your audience, whatever they may be, if they're dancers, whatever, if you can count on them, if you don't do a good job, they're going to open the door and out comes a saber-toothed tiger and chomps on you, then by all means have enough fear that you can be uptight, because then you can feel all the symptoms from your body and run real fast, because that's what all that mobilization's for. But otherwise, if you think now they might just fade away. I was talking with someone last night that says what's even worse is when you have a dance going and some of them just disappear. You have to watch out for the intermissions. Then what's so bad about that? That's not like being buried in sand up to your neck, have honey poured on your head in the anthill next door, is it? You see, it's out of proportion if you start to think in the terms that say, man, that would be terrible, awful, and I can't live with it. Now, part of that gets to the self-acceptance. And I'm going to talk on that quite a bit this afternoon, and I'll try to get to that in the morning, too, because that really ties in to this issue of putting our emotions and our self-talk in proportion. But, okay, let's talk about steps to changing the negative thoughts. I'm saying the negative thoughts are in there, you learned them a long time ago, and they're in there operating. We'll talk about this some more tomorrow morning, too. I'll give you a rundown on the top 9 negative thoughts that I think most of us are carrying around. So that's what we'll shoot at tomorrow. Here's how the steps to change the negative thoughts. Number 1 is identify and own the emotion. If I feel anxiety, then it's mine. I embrace it. It's mine. I don't like it. If I feel uptight and anxious, then it's mine. That's the first one. Identify it. Associate the emotion with the event. Now, if you associate the emotion with the event, then you can start to tie these together so you can do something about it. Some people have free-floating anxiety. They don't associate, they don't know where that uneasy feeling's coming from. It can sometimes be panic. I'm seeing in therapy, as chance would have it, a square dance caller who's having panic attacks. Now, and he's not sure where it's coming from. He's not associating with calling, but I'm just saying that sometimes it's free-floating, but if you can associate the emotion with the event, then you can start to do something about it, because the third step is to determine what you're telling yourself. Most of you in this profession, in this business, are probably telling yourself something like, if I don't do a good job, if those people don't like me, then that will be terrible. Now, terrible means 110% bad, and there isn't anything that bad. Well, there's some things get close, but that's not one of them. That's not one of them. So that's what you're likely telling yourself. It would be terrible if I stumbled over my words. It would be terrible if I didn't have next to a perfect performance. Now, is that true? Well, I'm worried because I'm hoping you're seeing that that sort of statement in your mind is a lie. It wouldn't be terrible. It wouldn't be like the roof blowing off the Hyatt, would it? It wouldn't be like snakes crawling down the street. That would bother my wife a lot. You see, put it in proportion, and terrible is something we have left over in our mind from early days, and it's just something that's just completely out of reach. Now, it would be, put it in proportion, put it in perspective, it would be unpleasant. I grant you, it would be unpleasant. It would be inconvenient, especially if they stopped your pay. Now, don't tell me just because that happened it'd be terrible, because if you do, you're hooked on the anxiety. You're set up for it. It's unpleasant, it's undesirable, it's inconvenient. But once you start to label things in your mind, because that's where the emotions are ground out, as horrible, catastrophic, terrible, then you are set up for having anxiety, because anxiety is a fear reaction. Okay? I said identify the emotion, associate it with what's going on, determine what you're telling yourself, consciously change your self-talk. Whatever you're telling yourself, and this takes a little probing inwardly, and you may have to do it after the event. Look for what you're saying, and once you find it, change it to something that's truthful. Yeah, it really would be unpleasant. I'm going to do my best to do a great job. But if I miss, it's not going to be the end of the world. Just that little difference starts to bring down the emotional level. As a matter of fact, people tell me that once they start to do this little exercise, they also feel the emotions start to drop. So that's important. Okay. Next step. I look at what we think, the way we think, as being the cause of performance anxiety and stress. So changing the thinking process is primary. Get to it, but remember this. You took a long time to raise those ratty little ideas in your head. You didn't get them overnight, so it takes a little longer. But start to follow the formula to change them. Okay, but while you're doing that, you've still got the emotion that you want to take care of. So relaxation is what I would suggest as one idea for it. Now, what does it do? First of all, it's very healthy. Relaxation, you're all familiar with some sort of relaxation, and I'm not going to tab a particular kind. Some people can sit by a stream, listen to the water gurgle, and get a neat relaxation, and then carry that picture in their mind when they go home. But what benefits do you get? Slows up your pulse rate. You manufacture endorphins, the body's tranquilizers. You reduce headaches. It'll warm your hands on a cold day. Your circulation gets better. Many good things can come from the relaxation. So it's healthy, but it also can be used right in the setting. You can use it right in the setting where you feel the tightness and tension. Now, I learned the technique from an MD who was a child psychiatrist that I'm going to offer you in just a few minutes today, because I think relaxation is a good idea at about noontime. It helps you digest your food better and that sort of thing. He's a psychiatrist that works with bleeders, hemophiliacs, the kids that bleed from cuts excessively. He is able, by teaching them this system of relaxation, to drastically reduce the bleeding that they do. And I mean drastically. They don't have to get nearly as much in terms of transfusion. Now, what happens, the relaxation reduces the tension and the anxiety, so they're able to function and not use the blood. It's a powerful tool. Let me recommend that you take time to use the skill. It's a skill. You can pick it up. It's like learning to ride a bicycle. If you practice the system that I'm going to show you today and one that's available on tape, if you practice once a day for 2 weeks, you will have the system that you can use and start to take right into the setting. When I came up here today, I had a whole bunch of those performance anxiety symptoms. I sat down at the table and pulled down the relaxation while I was right here that allowed me to start to function better. Now, I used to practice, when I was learning this, I used to practice at the symphony. My wife decided I should go to the symphony. I'm what's known as a cultural barbarian. So I went there, but she would catch me because as I was sitting there practicing my deep relaxation, she would feel my body go slack right beside her in the seat, and she would give me a nudge in the side. You can do deep relaxation even with people nudging you in the side. It's that good. Now, it's a powerful tool. Now, you can bring that right into the setting. You can take it right where you need it. To start with, it takes about 20 minutes each time you practice. After you've used it a couple of weeks, you can start to compress the time. I can go into a pretty deep state of relaxation in less than a minute, just by some of the words I use on myself. So, apply that skill in preparation for the performance. Some people that are having trouble with performance, I'll take them right into the setting, into the auditorium, have them sit in the place they think they're going to be playing from, and then have them relax. So you can take it with you. It's a highly portable tool. You can take it anywhere you want to go. Now, couple the relaxation with imagery. What we're talking about, you probably read Zen in the Game of Tennis. Sports psychologists now are all around helping people visualize and image what they want to do. It's another healing process. Gene and I did some study with Carl Simonton, the cancer specialist out of Fort Worth. And Carl Simonton, along with surgery, chemotherapy, and what's the other one? X-rays, I guess. He uses just what we're talking about today, the relaxation, visualization, and the cognitive counseling. That's a fancy name for getting rid of that insane thinking that causes us pain. Now, so it's another healing process. The way you do it is relax first, then rehearse the performance in your mind, then you experience the whole process. You even feel what's going on. You experience the whole process in your mind, and then you feel the joy of success. I was working with a lady one time, and she said, I can't get anything in my mind except bad things. And I said, well, that's really unfortunate because that's your mind. Now, what you put in it is up to you, but I suggest you practice a little bit more doing these sorts of things. And you can, sometimes people have difficulty to starting out getting the visualization in there that is really positive. Now, you're a really positive group, so it'd probably be easy for you to get this visualization going. I have just enough time. I'm going to put these together now. Let's put the whole process together, and I'm going to take just a few minutes with you and run you through a sort of a sampler relaxation visualization. This is not the full treatment. The full treatment takes a little longer, and it is on the tape that's available. What I'd like to have you do, if you promise you won't run away, you know how bad it hurts performance anxiety. If you lose your people, but if you want to just stretch a minute, put your arms up over your head, way up, stretch. Take a deep breath, deep breath. Now just let your arms and hands come down toward your legs, and as you do, let your eyes start to close. Relax. Let your eyes close. Let your hands come to rest on your legs. Feel your breathing get deep and regular. Your eyes are closed. Don't force anything. Kind of wiggle a little bit. Put your body into the chair best you can. Get the buns in the basket, and just start to really relax. Deep, regular breathing. Now visualize a flow of relaxation, just like a fountain coming down from the top of your head. Down through the muscles of your forehead. If your forehead is creased, if you've got it wrinkled, smooth it out. A flow of relaxation down through the muscle of your eyes, deep down behind them. Feel the flow of relaxation coming down through your face, through your jaws. If your jaws are tight and tense, the muscles there, let them smooth out and become soft and pliable. Waves of relaxation flowing down from the top of your head, down through the muscles of your neck. Now, often where your neck muscles join your shoulder muscles is where there's a knot of tension. As you visualize that wave of relaxation, feel that knot becoming soft and pliable, very soft, very deeply relaxed. Waves of relaxation flowing down from the top of your head, down through the muscles of your shoulders, your upper arms, your lower arms, hands, just washing away the tightness and tension, leaving behind a very pleasant feeling of relaxation. Waves of relaxation flowing down from the top of your head, down through the muscles of your chest, down through the muscles of your stomach, deep down. If your stomach feels knotted and tight, allow those muscles to become soft and pliable, very deeply relaxed. Waves of relaxation flowing down through your pelvic muscles, your thighs and knees, lower legs. Feel those muscles relax as you visualize the flow of relaxation. Waves of relaxation flowing down through your ankles and feet and toes, washing out the tightness and tension, leaving only this very pleasant feeling of relaxation. Now, using your mind as a scanner, just scan through your whole body, scan through the muscle groups, and if you locate any group of muscles that seems tight or tense, simply focus on those for just a moment and let them become soft and pliable, very deeply relaxed. And if you haven't already, allow your breathing to become deep and regular. Don't force it. Just allow your breathing to become very deep, very regular, very pleasantly relaxed. Now, with the muscles of your body moving toward relaxation and your breathing becoming more deep and regular all the time, just listen to the sound of my voice. Let all sounds and distractions simply float away while you allow yourself to go into a deeper and deeper state of relaxation. Visualize yourself like a golden aspen leaf left over from last fall, just drifting down through the air, softly buoyed up by the spring breezes, to and fro, down and down toward the soft forest floor below. Down and down, down and down, as you go into a deeper and deeper state of relaxation. Feeling very good in every way, feeling very calm, feeling very peaceful, feeling very deeply relaxed. A feeling of ease and comfort as you go deeper and deeper, deeper and deeper, deeper and deeper into this very pleasant feeling of relaxation. You may notice some slight tingling in your hands or feet, or you might notice that your arms or legs feel heavy. If you do, don't be concerned. These are often sensations that go with deep relaxation. Just allow yourself to go even deeper. Deeper and deeper. Deeper and deeper into this very pleasant feeling of relaxation. Now let your mind go to a nice, warm, sunny beach. Feel your body on the sand. Feel how pleasant the warm sand is on your body. Feel the sea breezes caressing your skin. Hear the sound of the ocean waves going in and out, in and out. The cry of the seabirds. How pleasant, how comfortable, how at one with the world and with God you feel. Deeper and deeper. Deeper and deeper. Now move yourself to a square dance situation. You're the caller. Feeling very good, very relaxed, very precise. The music is delightful. Your timing is perfect. See the swirl of color. Hear the sound. See the joy on the people's face as your excitement and joy translates to them, lifting them up, giving them a delightful time. And you feel so good. You just really enjoy what's going on. Feel the joy and peace. Feel how good it is to accomplish this. Just the way you've always wanted to do it. You can even see each intricate pattern develop. How beautiful, how pleasant. And it all comes to a close. You almost wish that it wouldn't stop. You'd like to go on forever. It comes to a close and all the dancers congratulate you, tell you how well you've done, what a delightful time they've had. And you leave that scene feeling very good, very happy, very deeply relaxed. Now just let yourself go even deeper, deeper and deeper, deeper and deeper. And in a moment I'm going to ask you to open your eyes and return to a state of full awareness. When you do, you'll feel very calm, very peaceful, very rested, but fully alert. On the count of 3, open your eyes and return to a state of full awareness. The count is 1, coming up. The count is 2, coming higher and higher. And the count is 3. Now, some of you that may have worked well, some not. This is, and I didn't mean to put you out for the day. But I simply want to give you a sample, and let me say that you have complete control. There's no control issue at all here. You're the one that decides to relax. All I was trying to do is coach you a little bit. But you can use this. It's a system that we use a lot, and it works effectively for many different things, but best of all, anxiety. Now let me say just one thing as I close here. Well, I want to say, in summary, if you can maintain your good general health, you're not as susceptible to performance anxiety or any other kind of anxiety. And then if you condition your mind for top performance function, you can change your negative thought patterns, and by doing that, change the emotions. Treat the anxiety symptoms with relaxation, and use the imagery to be in top performance form. Now let me give you one caution as I close. None of this training is a substitute for practice, memorization, hard work to master the details of your profession. If you think you can get yourself in limbo and then go out and call for a while, then you may not do too well. Although I saw 2 psychologists at a convention who came in and did a complete performance like this in this deep state of relaxation. They were a little wooden, but they did the whole thing. But I just want you to say, if you can add these skills to your work and to your expertise, then I think you can turn a good performer into a great performer. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry and Jean. I think some of us in our careers have put people to sleep by mistake. It's interesting to see you do it on purpose.